everyone. This is Michael Coker, the Gwinnett accident lawyer, and I've been talking a lot with chiropractors that we work with all throughout Gwinnett County, throughout the state of Georgia, and they've been asking me a lot of questions. So I thought it would be better for me to put together this webinar to present some additional information to everyone to kind of know where we stand, give you an update on the legal world, on personal injury claims, kind of what's going on right now, but also kind of explain how you can survive the pandemic, what you can do to help your patients and to help your practice survive these difficult and unique times. So first, let me just kind of give you an update of what's going on in the legal world. So as you likely know, this pandemic has taken drastic effects on the legal profession. The issue that we have primarily lies in the court system, and particularly with jurors. Judges are very hesitant to have jurors come back to the courthouse until we can be absolutely certain that we can keep the people safe. To compel someone to come in to answer a jury summons and to show up at the courthouse, they want to be completely 100% certain that they've minimized the risk of any of those jurors contracting COVID. At first, it looked like some of the federal courts were going to go ahead and reopen, and we're going to start having jury trials. I was personally on a jury trial calendar for the first week of August. We were going to try a case, but even the federal court system, the way the cases have started to trend up, have realized they can't do that. And so my discussion with judges and my communications with people in the courthouses, they've been telling me that practically they don't see this ending anytime soon, that they see jurors' safety being an issue all the way into next year, into 2021. And there's another little wrinkle for all of you chiropractors that are waiting on personal injury claims to get resolved, and that is criminal trials, when juries get fired back up, will take priority. So the issue here is people's constitutional civil liberties are at issue in a criminal case. And when you have criminal defendants that are accused of a crime and are sitting in jail waiting for their day in court to be released, to be exonerated and let go from the criminal system, the court's going to view their cases as taking priority over civil cases. And so all of us, like me, who's a civil litigation lawyer doing personal injury claims, we're going to have to wait. We're going to go at the back of the line of all those criminal cases, because they're going to say that those cases are not as important or don't have as strong a priority as the criminal cases. So even if the court were to come up with a system and were to say, yes, we can keep jurors safe, we can go ahead and restart these jury trials, the issue that we're going to have is that those criminal cases are likely going to take priority, and you're not going to see very many civil cases. So what's happening in the civil world is that these civil cases are just, the backlog is growing and growing and growing, and more cases are entering the system. And so I'm hearing from insurance companies, from defense lawyers, from people associated with claims handling, that the insurance companies, many of them, are now wising up to this, and they're not offering full settlement value. We're seeing it on our cases. We're seeing it in the court system from other attorneys that I'm talking with, that their offers are now even lower than they were before because that threat is gone. So what my firm used to do is we used to threaten, and we used to say, all right, we don't like your settlement offer, so we'll see you in court. Well, unfortunately, COVID has totally taken that threat away. And now I don't have the ability to say, let's go to court, because what they're doing to me now is they're laughing and they're saying, okay, we'll see you in court. We'll see you in court in 2022. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me as the insurance company to hold on to my money longer, maybe collect some interest on the reserves in some cases, and not settle the cases. And so they're trying to take advantage of my clients, of your patients, of the situation, by understanding they might be desperate for money, and they might be willing to settle for less money than they would normally be willing to settle for because of their situation and because they know that most people don't want to wait. They don't want to wait the year to 2 years before we ultimately get to a jury trial in a civil case. I'm hearing from some that they expect the civil cases to likely not start until mid-2021. So if you were first in line, like I had cases that were set to go to trial in June or July of this year, if you were first in line, they think that those cases will likely be tried in the summer of next year, just so you're aware of that. So what does this mean for you? How can you weather the storm of this pandemic as a chiropractor in your practice? And the thing that I would tell you on that is there's 3 things that I think you can do which can help both the PI lawyer as well as your patient. The first one is documentation is more important than it ever was before, and good record keeping. And the reason for that is historically, defense attorneys have been overly worked. They've had hundreds of files that they've had to deal with and not been able to adequately digest and analyze a particular patient's medical records. That's not the case anymore. Now, we have defense lawyers that are not burdened with trials. They're not burdened with pending court deadlines. So what they are doing is they are now realizing that they can spend much more time combing through medical records, finding little mistakes or maybe little dates that are incorrect or pain scale complaints that are wrong. These little things now are going to be even more critical than they were before. So it's going to be critical to make sure that any medical record set is complete, it's accurate, and there's no issues involving the record keeping. That's number 1. Number 2 is to understand your patient and to understand that the gaps in treatment could be an even bigger issue than normal. Because right now, we don't know what juries are going to do with gaps in treatment. My hope is that a jury is going to think that it's perfectly reasonable for a person to maybe take a few weeks off while the pandemic cases rise and not go to their therapy treatments. Or, they may feel like they're living with an elderly relative and so they can't risk going to the doctor or the chiropractor right now. Well, the issue with that is, historically, as you know, insurance companies have used that to their advantage. And they've said, listen, if this person were really that hurt, they would go to the doctor. Can they say that in the times of COVID? Will a jury say, no, we're not going to buy that argument this time because we think it's reasonable for the person to stay home? I hope so. That's my plan. That's what I intend to argue. But right now, we just don't know. We don't know what the answer to that question is. So try to stay on top of your patients. Make sure they're not having any gaps in treatment, that nothing is glaring, that there's no issues there. The third thing that I would say is maintain a strong relationship with your patients. I know a lot of times the tendency is when a patient ends their treatment, the tendency is to just kind of let it go and move on to the next patient. And I understand time concerns are an issue, but patients are going to get increasingly frustrated. We're already starting to see it with some of our clients, that they're just frustrated at their circumstances. They're frustrated, maybe they lost their job, maybe they lost, their financial stability is now at risk, and they want to settle the case, but they can't because the expenses are too high, and they feel that they're being taken advantage of, when in reality, the issue is outside of all of our control. We can't force the courts to reopen and have these jury trials. And so if you can maintain that patient relationship, even after the client finishes their treatment, if you can keep them happy, if you can check in on them, maybe see how they're feeling, maybe do an updated visit every so often, have them come back into your office and do a new visit where they can get an evaluation and maybe get an adjustment. I think those kind of things will go leaps and far longer if they still feel like they're gathering some benefit from their case. If they still feel like they have a relationship both with their attorney as well as their chiropractor. I think when things get dicey and they get frustrated, I think they won't try to turn on either you as the chiropractor or me as the attorney if they feel like they have a strong relationship and we're fully communicating with them and trying to help them and trying to provide them the best services that we can. So those are my 3 things for surviving the pandemic. If you have any questions or if I could ever help any of your other patients in any other way, feel free to give me a call. They can check me out at gwinnettaccidentlawyer.com. Otherwise, we look forward to continuing to work with you all, and we wish you and your family health and safety and continued business prosperity throughout this global pandemic.